The third round of the VOR Sprint Series brings the field back to Belgium for a trip to the circuit Spa Francorchamps. Welcome back to the Sprint Series, third of 4 races in its inaugural season. And tonight, with qualifying already concluded, we've got ourselves 30 minutes of racing action on the table, 15 laps counted at the very most. I'll be your host for today's broadcast, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and it's great to return to such a historic circuit and well known around the international community for endurance and Formula One racing. Tonight, the INDYCARs of this series get a chance to take on the track at full speed. It's going to be an all-out stint that could be split up by pit stops. All out, though, going to be a sprint flag to flag. One pit stop is going to be mandatory tonight, so strategy will be necessary to keep account of. Tires will be changed for the first time this season, and the rules are lightened up for a very intense track with qualifying already concluded. Let's head down to the starting grid and find out what's going on now, because at the head of the field, you'll see your pole sitter, Jonathan Moore. Number 81 machine tonight, starting inside of row number 1 with a 156.958. Then it's going to be Jack James in second, Jarno Kalsch in third, Patrick Zovazzi in fourth, Lucas Santos in fifth, and Julian Altena there in sixth. As the green flag is going to drop, Johnston, Stedman, and Bonnie will round out the top 10 as Moore leads the field in through the opening sector. Now drivers going to be making it up through La Source and the Redalion. The opening sector of the course rather calm despite the high speed, and it looks like now some weaving and bobbing back and forth. Yaroslav Donskoy just ahead of Julian, and side by side, it looks like the 91 not going to give, and Lucas Santos going to get just ever so slightly out the way. Leader now in Jonathan Moore and Jarno Kalsch. They've gotten away. Jarno right now going to be in third. Look just ahead. There's Jonathan, who's already got it up and in front. Looks like the 81 with the dominant speed to open up this event. Let's see what happens next here in the coming sectors and coming laps. Julian going to be currently sitting in the 6th position. Liam O'Sullivan, his teammate, won in our last race. However, Liam will not be racing tonight and will come back for the season finale next week in Silverstone. Going to be the final of 4 races in this mini-season championship, and Liam, with 1 victory so far, is looking for that 50% win rate. But tonight, Altena Autosport, of course, rests in the hands of this number 11 you're seeing here and now. Julian going to be making it through this very final sector and into the 21st and final turn, the chicane, to bring us to lap 2 once again. And it looks like Jonathan has himself out and ahead by a wide margin. With 15 laps in the picture tonight, lap 7 or 8 might be the time when drivers head down a pit road. Keep a close watch on fuel tonight, as all these drivers will have to conserve to make it all the way. Each lap, almost 4.5 miles in length. It's not going to be easy, and for Moore right now, he's building up a great lead and advantage now of about 2.5 seconds as he'll fly through La Source once again. Make it up the Redalion with the advantage over his fellow competitors. Jarno Kalsch in second. Jack James concludes the podium, and for the time being, very similar to the qualifying order. The only exception for the time being looks like Yaroslav Donskoy going to be here in 7th as he started, and then you look further back, it's going to be the rookie in Thomas van der Linden, who's made up currently 1 spot and is looking for yet another. And as you can see here, 2 laps out of 15, Julian going to be fighting here with Lucas Santos. And as the drivers go aboard, it looks like for the time being, Lucas going to keep ahead of Julian, and not much else has come of it. At the head of the field, still going to be Jonathan Moore with Jarno Kalsch in second, Jack James in third, and Patrick Zovazzi there in fourth. So far, no major troubles for all the drivers you're seeing here in the field. Leading the way, Jonathan Moore remains advantageous, and so far, that's exactly what he needs to keep doing, just hitting his marks lap after lap, turn after turn, and Moore's now going to be up ahead by a full flat second as the drivers are due to come across the line yet again for lap number 3, coming now toward the final chicane and into La Source once more. Moore's got a clear as day advantage, and then from there you look back, there's Jaroslav Donskoy and Thomas van den Linden. And it looks like for Thomas, he's staying just ahead of Donskoy. Jaroslav going to make his way around, and ever since Donskoy came through and initially took the checkered flag in Portugal, wasn't able to officially score the victory. As a result, he was penalized and sent down the order, and that's when Jarno Koch was able to take it as an overall signal for victory and the points lead. Let's ride on board right now with Donskoy and take a look back. Right now, it's going to be Thomas looking down to the inner portion of the circuit for a brief moment, coming through the Redalian. And as the braking zone comes to pass, it looks like Thomas now going to find himself in a much better position, running his line turn after turn, 3 laps in out of 15. And Jaroslav Donskoy going to be still making gains. How about Julian here in the 6th position? Lucas Santos going to be just ahead in 5th. Looks like Lucas has been able to break away ever so slightly and continuing to make those gains throughout each and every corner. In the Belgian Grand Prix, it looks like still it's going to be Jonathan Moore and Jarno Koch with the advantage. Patrick Zovazzi right now going to be in 4th. Jack James is going to be the final driver in the podium. And Thomas here is still fighting against Jaroslav. And this battle is currently the closest on the track by a long shot. Taking a look at that number 79 machine, it's clear as day right now. His goal getting right back up to Donskoy. It's a little bit of a split in this strategy game. Let's take a look at who's on which tire compound, because right now multiple drivers going to be taking it on with the alternates, and the primary compound going to be run by Zovazzi, Julian Altena, and Linden alongside Dave Stedman. So it's nearly a half and half split right now. 6 drivers on the alternates and 4 of which are on the primaries. And as it stands, it looks like the alternate's going to have the early advantage, and we'll see how far they fall off. Patrick Zovazzi trying to keep pace with those who are on the alternate compound, and he's the closest of all of which right now. Zovazzi going to find himself now in 4th, and only a few tenths of a second behind the driver, the number 53 in Jack James. James in the number 53. Got himself now the final driver on the podium, making it way up through the Redalian and on his way once again. As these drivers make it through the Camel Straight, it's going to be a few left and right, back and forth corners that Jarno and Thomas are already negotiating, and Jonathan Moore going to be the first negotiator, of which is going to be that 7-8-9 combo of Les Combes and on to Bruxelles, then to Pauhon in turn 12. We're making it now through Bruxelles, a complete 180-degree corner at a higher speed than La Source, mind you. However, it's still relatively slow as these circuits come and pass. 4 laps in out of 15 here, and you're going to see Jonathan Moore making his way now through the opening corners of this 3rd sector. And as he makes it down through Pauhon, it's up to Campus and Stavelot. And then once again through the longest flowing section of this track. It's a fast circuit given the fact that it is nearly 5 miles in length. A 2-minute lap is by all means relatively quick, and drivers have been able to master this circuit with all the experience they have, and perhaps other open wheel leagues giving way to very close competition, race after race, lap after lap. Linden going to be 8th, Jaroslav Donskoy there in 7th. It's going to be Julian Altena right now in the 6th position, and Lucas Santos there just ahead. Julian looks to be closing once more. Take a look on board with the 11. much better exit out of the final chicane there for Lucas Santos, and it looks like for Julian, gonna have an opportunity perhaps to pay him back as we go through the medallion once again, getting up through the gears and making it to what would be the Formula 1 DRS zone, going at full power here. Julian deciding not to put it down on the push to pass, but instead wait, being a little bit more patient as opposed to going all too aggressive. And right now for Julian, as he makes it up through all of the gears, you'll be looking at driver inputs for the remainder of the race. So far, absolutely nobody, at least right now, has been able to find a way to get up to Jonathan Moore. And you can see for Julian, there are opportunities right now for Julian, of course, to catch up to maybe the drivers ahead, but Jonathan Moore looks to be a pipe dream for anyone to get up to so far, unless your name is Jarno Kosh. And right now for Jarno, it looks like he's getting closer and closer to making something happen. The gap between the two of which is as low as 0.7 of a second, depending on where you are on the track. And overall, Jarno right now going to be in the runner-up spot, and you can see while he's gotten away from Jack James and Patrick Zovazzi, Patrick now all of a sudden giving a little bit more pressure to that number 53. Let's see what Jack James does about it though, because of course he has to react to it correctly. There's going to be a very big portion of this race all about approaching these moments at the proper time and passing high-speed circuit. You do not want to make the mistake that takes out both drivers at once. It's all about patience. Jack James is going to be looking high, and now he's going to have to move up top. Patrick Zovazzi decided to take the bottom here, and this is what happens in the final chicane, as it looks like Jack James is beginning to wear out his alternate compound. You can see now the number 53 trying to block all the way down the front straightaway into La Source and the medallion again. It looks like it's going to work out at least through the opening corner, but Patrick Zovazzi, evidently he has speed. Now 6 laps in out of 15, it looks like Zovazzi has continued gaining and is going to stay on the attenuator of the number 53 as they make their way up La Source all over again into what would be the DRS zone, foot flat to the floor. Now Zovazzi's going to find an opportunity to maybe pull out and peel out, and that he will. Thinks better of it though, is going to back off once again. Patrick decides to stay behind for a temporary portion of this lap, and maybe going to get a chance instead to be a little bit more aggressive in the second and third sectors, which the drivers are entering right now. Zovazzi goes low, can't really make much of it here, and 6 laps in out of 15, expect pit road to become rather busy in the coming minutes as we expect to see pit road cycle, the one and only mandatory pit stop. However, optional tire swaps. Maybe someone like Zovazzi will opt instead to go for the primaries the entire race rather than having to change out the alternate compound, which some drivers are choosing due to its raw speed. But in these long runs, as you can see, the primary compound a little bit stiffer, and so it holds up longer when it comes to endurance-based racing. And in a sprint, where endurance is almost the antithesis of what you're working with, tires that last long enough to go 30 full minutes at Spa, that is a big deal even if it's a very short race. And looks like Patrick Zovazzi able to make that move up into third, and as such, Lucas Santos right now going to be in 6th, looking up on Julian, who's position number 5. Taking a look now at Lucas, trying to get back up there with the Altona Autosport number 11. Julian rounds out the top 5, and it looks like, tentatively speaking, is having another solid run. Liam O'Sullivan, of course, the last man to get it done for this team in Altona Autosport in the INDYCAR Series. The main one, anyway. Julian was the last driver to come through with the checkered flag. The question becomes, of course, whether or not someone like Julian can make it work for one final race, though. If not tonight, drivers in this championship have one last opportunity to go for the race win and the championship. Jarno Kosh, if he finishes in 2nd today, will have a comfortable overall championship lead and should be able to wrap up the overall title, even if, of course, he does not come out with a solid finish next week. That would be at Silverstone, but right now, it looks like Julian is going to be passed as they come out of the medallion. No choice for the Altona Autosport number 11, but instead to try to fight back in these sweeping lefts and rights. Santos gets loose, Julian a little bit looser, and tries to prey on that very shallow entry that Santos gets now. And you can see it's going to work out. Julian going to go down to the inside and sweeping through the corners, back for the race lead. It looks like we're going to have a battle again with Jarno Kosh and Lucas Santos. Julian going to be passed as they come out of the medallion. No choice for the Altona Autosport number 11, but instead to try to fight back in these sweeping lefts and rights. Santos gets loose, Julian a little bit looser, and tries to prey on that very shallow entry that Santos gets now. And you can see it's going to work out. Julian going to go down to the inside and sweeping through the corners, back for the race lead. It looks like we're going to have a battle again with Jarno Kosh and Jonathan Moore. Jarno getting closer and closer, and the gap was within a half a second as recent as about half a minute ago, and you can see now both drivers are on the same frame yet again. Let's see what happens now for Jonathan Moore, who has to manage that tire saving up at the front of the field, and it's not like how he did it last week, of course, where he was one of the quickest drivers, hands down. It also looks like today he's got to deal with the fact that he is in the race lead and the pressure is on him. Not like last week where drivers such as Liam O'Sullivan had no reason to chase after him. There is all the reason to go after the number 81 tonight, and Jarno is going to know it as Jonathan Moore decides to go down a pit road here 7 laps in, and he will go for the undercut and be the very first driver to head into pit road, as does behind him Jack James. Jack is going to come through the pit road, and as does Julian. And Julian will bring Lucas Santos. Thomas van der Linden, the rookie, decides to stay out, and Dave Stedman looks like he's going to take his number 74 on the circuit again. This will give Jarno Koch the race lead, and as such, Jarno now with an opportunity to pull through and take that advantage into the medallion and try to build up track position. Alternate compound drivers such as Patrick Zovazzi are going to be the one driver, or maybe the two drivers, as it looks like behind him is going to be Thomas van der Linden, who is also trying the same strategy to benefit the most. Alternate compound, it looks like the Reds tonight, well, they've done the most for some drivers with raw pace, but for Zovazzi, maybe the intention is to have a much shorter pit stop and get back on the way with the race lead without having to take in any account the drivers behind him. He should have enough time if he gets out of pit road much quicker to have that race lead and, of course, stick to it. Right now, coming out of pit road, it looks like Dave Stedman going to find himself in the 5th position. Jonathan Moore going to be up into 4th, and the reason being for Stedman, he was on the primaries and decided to take a much quicker pit stop, cycling out and ahead of Jack James, Julian Altena, and Lucas Santos. All the same, Yaroslav Donskoy has disconnected from the session. And 10th, Alexander Bonney, who did not start. 8 laps in out of 15 so far, and it looks like for Patrick Zovazzi, he's going to be coming in next time by. Let's watch on with the number 17 as he makes it through the final sector into the final chicane, and he'll make his decision. Patrick now going to be making it into turns 20 and number 21. Backing it down into first gear here. It looks like for Zovazzi, no other choice but to make it up to the high side and go to pit road. Just like that, the number 17 going to go for that longer strategy. 1 lap the difference, and bringing with him the rookie in the number 79. Oh, it looks like Thomas is going to miss pit road and going to get front wing damage all while he's at it. And it looked like it could have been a surefire entry, but the number 79 gets loose and out of control. The TBR team is going to be in big trouble now, as it looks like Thomas, who was en route to perhaps locking up a top 5 in his debut, now has some major damage up front of that wing. He'll be lucky if nothing was up in the suspension. I'm not quite sure whether or not Thomas has enough in him now to continue racing. We will see, as it looks like now Dave Stedman, the rookie, decides to stay out one longer. He's going to go for the ultimate undercut. And you can see now Stedman getting on his way. The only driver now to remain on a 9-lap stint. The rest of the field heading down to pit road, as Jonathan Moore is going to be the overall leader over Jarno Koch and Patrick Zovazzi. It looks like for Jonathan Moore, regardless of the fact he went down later and is on the alternates, it looks like for the time being he still has the race lead and the clear-cut advantage over the rest of his competitors right behind him. Here's Jarno, who's going to be in second, 3 seconds back. And then you have Patrick Zovazzi fighting against Jack James. Take a look on board now with the number 53 and see what's going on. James right now going to be pushing it to the limit, getting on and enabling his push to pass. It looks like now the number 53 going to be taking it down to the inside, and he will have the room of the advantage to make it by and quickly on Patrick Silvasi. Not a half bad move by any means, and now making it through Blanchiment and the final chicane. It's a quick move into what was turn 18 there, and all of a sudden it looks like Jack James is inside of the podium. Dave Stedman not too far behind this battle himself, but the rookie's got to keep himself intact. Of course, not trying to mess with anything with respect to his car and how it's running. Overall, Thomas van der Linden was able to continue driving after his incident, and despite that occurring, it looks like the number 79 is still on the lead lap, 10 laps in, out of 15 overall. Julian has cycled back and overall not having the most impressive of days, currently finding himself now in the 6th spot, and even though he had a real chance to win last week, ended up blowing that with strategy and a little bit of racing aggression from both parties. He was not really the one to blame overall. However, it looks like the racing incident took him out last week, and the strategy has just not been in his favor today. All things considered for Julian, not a half bad job with what he's had to work with, and 6th place will do to perhaps come up with a top 5 if there's any attrition up in front. The closest battle remains between Silvasi and Jack James alike. The rest of the field has really settled themselves nicely down and in to the point where we only have a total of 6 laps remaining here, and with 6 to go on the clock, it looks like drivers now looking to finish things up nicely and not have all too much trouble by the point that they come to the end of this event. It's a 30-lap sprint after all, so don't expect a lot of time to be given to these drivers. They'll have to be picture perfect to come down to the line in one piece without enacting an early white flag. We might see this race cut at the 14-lap marker if, of course, drivers are not able to make it to the white flag in time. It remains to be seen whether or not that will occur. iRacing's timing and scoring oftentimes determines whether or not these drivers have a real chance to make it through the full distance. It's going to be a very close call. Lap times for leader Jonathan Moore, though, are more than quick enough. However, a pit stop impedes him from really getting all that time back. Keep in mind, he was on pit road for a total of 26 seconds. Add in about 10 or 15 seconds lost preparing to get in and out, and you'd have to imagine 45 seconds are lost overall. Now, if he's about 2 seconds quicker than the marker he has to hit over the entire race, he gets back 30 seconds. So, I don't know whether or not iRacing will call the race prematurely, but there is a chance in mind that we only have 14 laps based on how quick Jonathan Moore has been. It's going to be very, very close from here, and drivers will have to keep a watch on that because it could mean a big deal paying dividends as Dave Stedman heads down to pit road once again. It looks like Stedman, the final driver, dropping in, and he's now going to be 8th and last of those on the lead lap. Thomas van der Linden now getting on his way. Thomas in 79 going to be running currently in 7th here on his own, as the rest of the field has definitely split themselves apart. We're not seeing any major groups running in packs, not seeing drivers who are relatively close to each other, and right now the closest gap remains Jack James and, of course, Patrick Silvasi, both drivers who are fighting on a hard compound strategy and trying to make something happen with it. Overall, it looks like James getting out better than Silvasi, and we predicted that if anyone was able to make that strategy pay off, it would most likely be Silvasi, but instead Patrick now finds himself on the back foot, and it's going to be the number 53 making his way up inside the podium. And so James continues to run. 2 seconds back, Jarno Kalsjes tonight on Jonathan Moore, and so far Moore has been nothing short of fantastic. 8 laps in, of course, that he's led out of 11, and he's going to come now for his 9th lap led on the day. You can see Moore has just continued to tally him off, lap after lap after lap. 4 remaining this time by as he heads out of La Source, and overall you can check the lap averages for drivers in the past 2, and you'll see who's had the best times set. Overall, in his last 2 laps, Jonathan Moore with a lap average of 158.61 over the course of his last 2 laps. Jarno not too far behind, and as a matter of fact, he was quicker. His last 2 laps have averaged out to a 157.8 for a driver on the primary compounds, such as Patrick Silvazzi and Jack James. Well, right now, Patrick Silvazzi averaging out more than a second slower at a 158.86. Jack James a 158.82. So it is clear today that while the alternate compound might wear out a little bit quicker, it has the overall advantage in these short stints. 6 or 7 laps, not really enough to necessitate anything crazy with respect to strategy. And tonight, those who have paid off with patience, well, they've seen themselves reap the benefits. And it looks like now, Jack James among the many was just trying to salvage a podium and get on with it to our season finale next week in Silverstone. Now for more, making his way out of the final bends and corners to make it 3 laps remaining. It looks like Jarno Kosh is making up big time, and now the gap is going to be a total of 0.8 of a second. 0.8 back, Jarno is going to remain, and right now your championship leader looking for what would be his second win of the season. However, it would be the first that he wins with the checkered flag in hand when he crosses the line. Of course, it all came down to what happened with Portimao's penalties. Yaroslav Donskoy, the fastest he might have not been, but he was able to make that pit strategy stretch all the way and not go down a pit road in a full 30-lap race. Now, that is not legal according to Sprint Series rules, and a pit stop is mandated, so Jarno Kosh was awarded the win as a result of that blunder. But tonight, Jarno's going to have to earn it fair and square against Jonathan Moore, and Moore has not made it easy. As a matter of fact, he's done the exact opposite, keeping himself up at the head of the field and showing a little opportunity for a mistake to be made. Moore has been close to perfect and second to none so far today, and he'll keep on going with little trouble so far. Jarno right now going to be 0.5 of a second back as they head out of the Redallion, and it looks like that straightaway, these straightaways in particular, are the best opportunity anyone has to make up time. The 81 of Jonathan Moore is going to hang tough right now, but it looks like with 3 remaining and the gap still shrinking, I don't know what else Jarno can do. He's about a few tenths of a second off, and making it through the second sector, he's going to have to push as hard as he can. Expect him to be on the push to pass. If he has any opportunity, he will have to utilize that push to pass as a tool. And look at how much is remaining for each driver. Jarno still has 2. Jonathan Moore, he has none. So, it looks like defensive driving for Jonathan should be a little bit harder than what Jarno has to do on the offense. 2 push to passes remaining. Yaroslav Donskoy had 7, however, he disconnected from the race. And so it all comes down to this with 3 laps to go. Which of these drivers who still remain on the track are going to utilize their push to passes the best? Of all those who are still on the circuit, Patrick Silvazzi has the most with a total of 4, and so he might be able to take advantage of that when he fights against Jack James, but not a guarantee now as you look at this overall gap to leader shrinking 0.4 back, as we'll be coming down to 2 laps remaining. Estimates are showing we may be a few seconds behind making it to the checkered flag on time. It's going to be a very, very narrow margin, and drivers have to keep on clicking down laps perfectly for a chance to get to the checkered flag at once. 2 laps to go this time by, and it looks like we should be able to make it to the white flag in one piece. Jonathan Moore going to be making out of La Source with the minor edge of only 0.5 of a second. Let's ride up the Redallion here with Jarno taking on the push to pass for the second to last time tonight. He'll be going on at full throttle here as he exits, and here we have it. Jarno making a big time as he tries to get up to Jonathan Moore. Now it's going to be Jarno going right up top, and now he's going to have it right there side by side. Battle for third progresses, but as you can see, Jarno having no choice but to back it down once again. Jonathan Moore with fantastic defensive driving and to take the race lead back in his hands. And so, Jarno will wait once more. Now they'll make it out of Bruxelles and onto Falhon for turn 13 and move on once again through the final string of corners. Going to be a sweeping downhill motion as they make it through Campos and Stavlo. And here's Jonathan Moore with the advantage. You can see him race leading, making it through with nobody else right beside him. He's got the track to himself once again, and the final chance now for Jarno to look for the race win would be through the Redallion once more, and using the Canal Straight for a final chance at victory. He'll have to play the rest of this lap though perfect, and get a good exit off La Source as they make it up through the final 2 corners in this last chicane. This will be the determining factor. How does Jarno do through La Source? What will that mean as he goes up the Camel Straight. Coming through Blanchimont, this is it. Coming to one lap to go this time by. The white flag is due to fly for all the drivers, and they will make it to the white flag in one piece with Jarno going up to the top side in the chicane, and it looks like it's going to be nothing more than a pipe dream, shooting up wide and early. I don't know if that was the right decision here. You see Jonathan Moore with a fantastic exit out of the corner. One lap to go. White flag is going to fly, and for Jarno, he's going to have to back up the corner really nicely here if he wants any chance to put the power down and get back to rolling quick as they go up the Redalion. Gap to make up is going to be a total of 0.6 of a second, and it looks like for now, Jarno not going to be on the push to pass, and instead keeping it on the green button. I believe now he might have just used up his stuff and is going to have to stay behind naturally rather than making an errant pass. However, he's close enough now to shorten the gap through the Camel Straight, and Jarno now going to make the move. Jarno goes up high, and into Las Colmes, he's right there, backing off once again, looking for a switchback maneuver. Jarno will not get, and Jonathan Moore will not give. However, now the gap is going to be 1/4 of a second. Moore staying just ahead, and Jarno staying right behind him here. The 81 knows now pressure is on, and this is the closest these two drivers have been all throughout the night. Taking a look on board now, but Jarno cautious. They're going to make it now down this downhill section through Pauhan and Campos again. Moore now going to force Jarno up top one more time. Bottom side has been advantageous for the apex of each and every corner. And coming up once again, it looks like Jarno going to have to settle himself in and pull it all back together. But it's not going to be easy, and the odds are working all against him. And so, drivers make it through Stavelot into the final section one more time. Blanchimont in the final chicane will be the determining factor of who gets the win. Now coming up to closer and closer to pit entry, Jarno Kosh will know it's going to be one last straightaway and one last chance to make that move. Jarno now going to look down to the inside, and at full throttle, it looks like both drivers with a chance. Jarno wiggles and stays side by side, coming up right beside the grass. Last lap this time by as the checkered flag is due to fly. Jarno stays high. Jonathan Moore down low, looking for a drag race to the checkered flag. Jarno Kosh will take the victory here in Belgium. A slide job on the last lap, and Jarno with the win. Jonathan Moore across the line is officially in second, and it will be Patrick Zovazzi to round it all out in third. What a victory for Jarno Kosh, who's gotten it done again and has found victory lane. This time, he'll keep the checkered flag, and he's looking to celebrate this victory, and what a win it was. Checkered flag is going to fly tonight here in the Belgium Grand Prix. Jarno Kosh with the win over Jonathan Moore in second, Patrick Zovazzi in third, and Jack James there in fourth. Julian Altena going to be in fifth, and Lucas Santos going to be sixth, with Thomas van der Linden there in seventh, Dave Stedman going to be eighth, and Yaroslav Donskoy, Alexander Bonney, the retirees. Word is in, Jonathan Moore lost fuel on that final lap, and that is what we saw happening in the last moments of the race. Moore lost his fuel and ends up sitting in second nonetheless, but one driver who managed it all till the very end, Jarno Kosh, for his second victory of the season, an almost surefire championship win locked up on that note. Let's get a word from your race winner here and make sure Jarno Kosh is standing by with us. And it looks like that he is. So, starting in third today, from the very beginning up to the checkered flag, Jarno Kosh, the man who got it done, and still waiting on a chance for him to officially make his way in, and there he is. Let's get in your race winner here in the Belgian Grand Prix, and it looks like not only fuel mileage, but a fantastic battle for the victory. Jarno, the checkered flag is yours tonight. What a way to get it done in the last turn on the last lap. A dramatic way to get the checkered flag and win it. And it looks like you put just enough pressure to come out with the checkered flag in only the final 500 feet.
It was definitely dramatic, that's for sure. I don't really know what happened, if he let me past or if he ran out of fuel. I'm not so sure, but it was a great battle either way. I would have let him have the victory. Honestly, he defended super well, and I made a mistake in the like third to last corner. I had a massive oversteer moment while on push to pass and too wide. Yeah, and then the finish was kind of weird, but I'll take it, I guess.
And all things considered, well, looking through the chat room right now, it looks like Jonathan Moore saying it was running out of fuel at the very end, but it was a fantastic battle between the both of you, trying to hang on for the victory, playing strategy right, and it seems like you came to your own on that second leg. Were you pushing the car a little bit harder in that final portion?
If he didn't have enough fuel, I guess he just needed to save fuel, because on pace wise, I think we were both like pretty even. He was faster on new tires, I was a bit faster on older tires, and yeah, it kind of got to the same result in the end. I think maybe I wouldn't have catched him if he had enough fuel, but well, we will never find that out.
Nonetheless, your second win here on the season. You've done it once again, and now almost wrapping up the championship with that victory. We have one more race still to go, and it's going to be a very short Sprint Grand Prix in Silverstone. How do you feel as we head over to the United Kingdom to wrap up this inaugural season?
I was not so confident after Imola because my setup that I built wasn't good at all. The one I built for Spa was way better, so I'm pretty confident I found a way back to good setups also for Silverstone.
And it looks like locking in that second race win in a dramatic turn of events. Jarno Koch, the checkered flag is yours here in Belgium. If you have any final shout-outs you'd like to give, the floor is yours.
I do not. Shout out to Jonathan, honestly. It was a great battle, and I had a lot of fun today.
And just like that, Jarno, your second victory on the season here in Spa Francorchamps. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And so Jarno going to be on his way tonight. Jonathan Moore, oh so close to victory, but it seems like tonight, Fuel getting the better of the 81 team, and it was a crazy battle, an exciting one at that. And so you find yourself on top, oh so close to being on top, that is, second place tonight. And we knew you had speed from last week, and tonight you finally had a chance to show it, but just gas mileage really taking you out to the very end.
Yeah, I misjudged the fuel at the pit stop. Jumped Jarno obviously by about 2.5, 3 seconds, but at the stop I put I think 0.4, 0.5 laps too little in. So knew I had to feel safe, had to go to originally map 5, realised I wasn't going to make it even with the reserve. So banked it into map 8 for a few laps, which is when Jarno started catching up, because map 8's quite slow in these. It's more of a safety net, I guess. Defended with what I could. I think Jarno ran out a little bit as well, because when I was spluttering on the last lap through bus stop, he didn't go straight past on the inside. So yeah, we both played it quite tight on fuel. I was too tight, to be honest. Well, I would have rather not had your fuel save and overtake for the win, re-overtake for the win, if I'd have known. Obviously, I was going to make it, but I was thinking more about preventing the undercut at the time and building a gap.
And just a minor miscalculation with the fuel finishing off the night, and I'd have to wonder, of course, tonight, strategy making a big return to form with Spa being such a large circuit. Even a 5 or 6 lap stint made all the difference. Now, you ended up being on your final stint for 7 laps relative to Jarno's 6 there. You think that 1 extra lap made a difference for you in the negative?
Yeah, it was different to Imola this week with the option of being able to run the blacks. You can run the harder compound tyre if you qualified on it. The way it basically worked was whatever tyre you qualify on is the tyre you bring to the end. But you were allowed to have a tyre change at the stop, which we weren't allowed at Imola. And you're also allowed to run the harder tyre. So I don't know if anyone chose the blacks. The pace deficit is quite a bit. I'll go after a few laps. the regs that I was on, and I think Yano as well, start jagging quite a bit. You drop quite a lot of pace, so that's when the blacks would have been quicker. And yeah, I mean, like you said, with Spa being such a long lap, just even 1 lap difference at a pit stop, it's an extra 2-3% worse on the tyre wear. It makes a difference in these, with them being so twitchy and stiff.
And just 1 lap making all the difference for tonight's story of the race, and you've got one more chance to go after victory. We know you have the speed now. It just comes down to succeeding at what I believe would be, according to iRacing anyway, your home circuit in Silverstone. How do you feel about the season finale coming up?
Yeah, looking forward to Silverstone. It's a track I've raced in real life, so hoping that experience can come into it a little bit. Was pretty quick the last 2 years I've raced there, so hopefully can carry it over. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident. I jumped in to tonight's race with no practice. The first laps I turned were in the practice session before the race. I hadn't done any of my own test drive or anything. And we went straight to pole, fastest lap, fighting for the wins. So it's a good thing that I've shown I can at least jump in the car and be quick straight off the bat. It's just about putting everything together at Silverstone.
And just a few seconds away from what could have been tonight in victory lane. You weren't, but definitely showing the pace. Jonathan Moore, if you have any final shout-outs you'd like to give before we move on to Silverstone, we'd love to hear it.
Just Liam O'Sullivan, firstly, onto the league. I've done good friends with him in real life, done Spa 24 with him the weekend before Imola. And he said to me, "Oh, look, there's a free INDYCAR league running. Do you want to give it a go?" Which is when I started in Imola. Was quick straight off the bat, so thought I'd do Spa again. Didn't have anything planned for tonight, so thought I'd give it a go. And yeah, mainly Liam for putting me onto the league. Obviously Julian for running it as well, and yourself and anyone else in the commentary booth and production whatever team.
And just like that, Jonathan Moore, runner-up here in the Belgian Grand Prix. We once more thank your time.
Thank you.
And with more on the way, unfortunately, Patrick Zovazzi does not appear to be unavailable, and getting a final confirmation on whether or not that is the case, it looks like that indeed is. So Patrick Zovazzi not going to be available, as is Jack James and company, and so we heard from your second place finisher in Jonathan Moore and eventual race winner Jarno Kaj, who gets it done tonight in the number 41. A fantastic race that leads us into only one more remaining, and that will be, of course, your season finale coming very soon in Silverstone. Going to be a very exciting event. 30 minutes of racing in the United Kingdom, and then we move on to potentially Season 2 of the Sprint Series, where these 30-minute blasts of action are due to come back potentially on Wednesday afternoons as well. It's another fantastic race I had the pleasure of presenting live here on the VOR Racing Network. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and I hope to join you in just a few days' time. A week's time, as a matter of fact, Wednesday afternoon, same time, same place, for the Silverstone Grand Prix in the Sprint IndyCar Series. We thank you all for tuning in and hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage, and we hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you again for our season finale in just a week, live on the VOR Racing Network. You've been watching from the circuit, this Spa Francorchamps coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix.